Okay, welcome everyone to Chalice and Chains. My name is Sam, and today we are playing another session of Dark Age of Heroes, where we are taking the Dark Age of Man rules, rule set, toolkit, whatever we want to call it, and using it to run a near future, but modern for the most part, setting with superheroes and vigilantes in a setting that I used kind of a generic Gotham like setting of Metro City. And so I will have these fine gentlemen introduce themselves and who they're playing in just a minute. But this is, like I said, the second session of what we hope to be an ongoing chronicle. This one is titled Beginnings, and we will pick up about a week and a half after the events of the first session. So if you haven't watched that one yet, it is on the channel. You can go ahead and watch that one, where we kind of introduced the whole thing. So what I will do is I will have you guys introduce yourselves and maybe just the name of your character. And then I will give us the setup and we will jump right in. So, Dell, why don't we start with you?
Got a colored, lengthy past, just putting it that way. Um, he is a bit of a thin man, older. If you really take a good look at him, he's a bit of a patch quilt of, of skin. And it looks like possibly some surgery has been, a reconstructive surgery has been done to him a lot. So there's a lot of scar tissue. But that was very well hidden. He wears a beard. He walks with a cane. He's as we witnessed in the last episode, is actually a multifunctioning cane, and that is a weapon. It's a sniper's rifle. He wears a monocle. Um, so you might misconstrue him a little bit of a British type bearing about him, with especially looking through the monocle and the hat that he wears. Um, and but uh, don't let that. I mean, appearances are deceiving. He doesn't look like he comes from or has at least uh, money or an aristocratic, upbringing or whatnot. But so I'm getting here. He's a little bit hard to pin down exactly. So he kind of easily mixes into the population, even somewhat in the underbelly of the city, which sometimes he gets into. But he can fancy himself up, and he knows how to carry himself in that capacity. And he does, as we saw, he does know how to utilize technology to his advantage, and he's obviously got the resources to do that, as we saw in the last session. Uh, Whenever they were picked up and they had headed to his mansion. So the rest remains to be seen, but that's what we know so far of Caliber, which that's one of his many names.
I am Jason playing Garrett Jasper, a 27-year-old tech genius, private investigator, will work for anyone who pays. 5'8". I have a superpower that I got from a failed experiment. This allows me to manipulate light distortion. I am known as Monster Shadow on the blog that I write. So I primarily spend my time working with technology and gadgets and writing my nerd blog, sharing with my blog fans the exploits of my superhero alter ego. However, I fictionalize enough that hopefully people can't figure out who I am. I live with two robots, Alpha Brian and Beta Brian. They are basically a butler and a secretary, so to speak. They are very Android heavy look and mannerisms, right? They are not perfected androids. And I have a friend, an investigative journalist named Sarah, who has a bit of a crush on me. However, I'm somewhat oblivious to her interest in
Advances.
me. Yes. I have most of my endeavors early in my career have been using my ability in a voice modulator to change my voice and to scare away low life thugs and things like that. The last a week and a half ago, though, things changed for my character in that he found himself in some physical scraps and has spent the last week and a half less inclined toward technology and gadgets, more so inclined to adjusting to his new living situation. The complications of Sarah now knowing that I am the monster shadow. I'm not just writing about it. I am indeed that character, and I have been spending time working out, trying to get more able-bodied for any potential physical altercations in future. Is what I've been doing for the last week and a half or so, neglecting even research on who violated my security to discover my location in my home. I have not been on my blog since due to fear that I could be tracked. I do not have a phone, and therefore I do not have my music playlist. And I have been, for the most part, very grumpy for the last week and a half, as my life has completely been turned on its head, and I'm working on how I can remedy this situation. And that is Garrett Jasper right now.
As far as me, no.
Yeah, no, I worked. I lived in like a 2 bedroom apartment and worked generally. I would go to a client, so I would get a call, somebody, I would visit them, and I would go to work from there. I didn't have people into my location, right? So that's the further reason why it's complicated that somebody has been able to hack my devices and triangulate my home. So even more disturbing because I don't use like a headquarters. I don't use an office, so to speak. Weber. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's when I'm behind the couch doing push-ups, and that's when I stand up to watch, and I take a towel and I wipe my face and put it around my neck, as I'm now listening, as I've heard somebody mention this actual evildoer. Mm, mm, right. Mm, mm. Oh, okay. Okay.
All of that, I haven't disclosed this to Garrett Jasper. Is my involvement with him was a little bit chaotic. I more or less have him under my eye right now, uh, as far as that goes. But I have everything with my drones out at night. I'm monitoring um, the city basically for my own interest, as well as the city, the health of the city, which is again in my interest. So that can be telecommunications, um, movement throughout the city, the docks. We're not on adjacent to any kind of sea lanes, are we? But okay, yeah, I keep that monitored throughout, and it pipes away to my monocle, my reticle, so I can see visually what's going on. The TV I have in there because it gives me a little bit of comfort. It's more of a thing that, yeah, exactly. But it also gives me a little bit of comfort to the past, the throwback. But yeah, as far as that, I come into the room with the martini I've got sipping, and I see Jasper hop up, and looking at, staring at it intensely as it flickers off. And when he turns around and looks at me, I I got the martini and I just look at it and stare at him. And what's what are you thinking, Jasper?
I'm thinking I need to call the police commissioner, but I don't have a device. So I've been the last week, when not exercising and pondering, I have been soldering together a SIM card that I hope to use a laptop here at the house through a disguised portal to tap satellites and be able to use that to put into a an old cell phone that I could then call around, but I could hop satellites so they could not trace. So I've been working on that. It's not done yet.
Okay.
I need
Well,
I need a phone that right. So in that sense, and at this point,
well,
about
Jasper, I can provide you with a phone, but I would, you're,
mm-mm.
well, you're a
They,
resourceful young
I'll
man, as
nod
I
at him and I'll
see.
take the phone from him because I plan on tearing
Well,
the SIM card out of that and using my
it's
high
not
my
like I'm handing it to you right now, but
oh,
what I'm doing is
okay.
I'm talking to you. I'm saying like, well, Jasper, I can provide you with a phone, but and I know you're a resourceful young man, but you know that information can be compromised. I mean, look at your situation now. So that means any connection with the police commissioner and the police themselves could be compromised. I've been studying over the last couple of weeks the situation. We don't need to run in blindly. We've had to deal with that firebrand maniac. And chaos is one thing that you can't corral or you can't necessarily expect. But I believe this is something we can control with information. So I would like to, judging Sam from my uh, resource gathering of the last week and a half
Mm-hmm.
of the security breaches within the police
Mm-hmm.
and telecommunications wise or whatnot. Like I said, that's when I'll have a secure line.
Mm.
But I'd also like to know if there's any marks in the I mean, any marks within the police that that we don't need to give any information to, or that we need to be weary of.
Yeah. So you have been. Well, you know what? Go ahead and make a. Go ahead and make either a prestige or luck roll for me, please.
Okay, good luck. Okay, it's 10.
Okay. So Metro City Police have been generally incredibly difficult to infiltrate, in the sense of knowing exactly the identity of the corrupt agents there. What you have generally found out is that the corruption goes as high up as you can imagine, but there is nothing directly tracing it to the police commissioner herself. But you know that it will not be. It would not necessarily be safe to speak to anyone other than maybe the police commissioner if you want to guarantee that there's no corruption. You have to really insulate it, and you might be one of the very few that have gotten in, because they've insulated hard in the last few years.
Yeah. Okay. That's when this one all. Jasper, if you'll follow me, and along the way, I'll go to a certain room with some technology to be able to pull out a secure phone. And while I'm doing that, it seems that your lady friend, uh, I know she did cover your identity, which is a good thing. You don't want that getting out. So watch who you speak with. That could be a knife to the throat. And I'll fish out the phone off the table at the time and say this should suffice for secure communications. My number as well as is and put it, you know, into the memory, and then I'll
Yeah,
flip it to the phone.
I'll take the phone from him and I'll flip it open and investigate it. And thank you, Henri. And I'll pocket it in my sweatpants. Again, wet, nude, from the top down. I say I'm gonna retire for a shower and get dressed. And it is evening, you said, correct, Sam?
Yeah, it's pretty much always nighttime.
And I will have taken up residence in the maybe we will have taken up residence in the another wing of the house or the garage,
Yeah.
wherever Henri would have pointed us to. So my two robot androids
Hmm.
would
Oh,
serve in
you're
that,
you're in the house. You're in the house. I'm not,
right,
having you.
in those well, yeah, and they would be confined to the couple of rooms that I'm using. One for bedroom privacy, one for
Yeah,
office
you
work
can have
where
a
I'm
little
soldering and
section over
working.
there.
Yeah.
And I'll
Yeah.
retreat to that wing of the house, and I will head in, and I will tell my I will tell Alpha Brian, or Alpha. I call him Alpha
Mhm.
and Beta. I'll flip the phone over to Alpha
Mhm.
and tell him to begin the process of disassembling this phone. And I want you to get that SIM chip that I've been working into the phone. I'm going to shower, and then I will hop in the shower. When I come out of the shower, I will be again. I'm wearing a beard over a week or so.
Mhm.
I'm letting my hair grow. I know now that I need to maybe think about not looking like I did during these events.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a change of appearance over the course of time. I'll dress, and then I will take the phone from Alpha, and I will begin the process of. I'll set that down. I will use the cable to put that into the laptop, and I will begin the process of securing that SIM. If I have to hack to secure a SIM code,
Mhm.
and then the goal is to make sure I can bounce this from satellite to satellite. So I'm making my own completely secure cell phone using this device. That would be what I'm up to right now.
Yeah. So go ahead and make a mind roll for me
Okay.
and let me
Mind
know.
of +3.
Yep.
7 and 3, 10.
Okay, fantastic. So it takes a little while, but you are reasonably confident that you have been able to not only create this device to be able to do what you described, but also you've been able to kind of get around the
Security
encryption and the
protocols.
security
Yeah.
protocols that Henri might have in place on his own network. Not that you were able to get into his network and
Yeah.
access his information,
Yeah.
but that he can't actively monitor this device. And it took a lot. You realize this is no joke. Like, he's got real top notch
Yeah.
digital security. But yes, the Brian Alpha would come back to you and he says, "Very good, sir. Here, device seems." And I've ensured, with under your direction that no protocols have been violated, and that we
Breached.
are able,
Yeah.
we are able to operate anonymously.
Okay. Perfect. And the device is meant to hijack other phone IDs. So when I make a call out,
Hmm.
it will grab another cell phone ID from this
Right.
these satellites, and it'll show up on their phone as Bill Jones or
Okay.
Sarah Williams, whatever.
Sure.
So it'll just hijack other individuals' cell information when I make a call out.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So that's just kind of how it would look on incoming calls.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And speaking of which, do you have a way, like, do you have some kind of like burner phone or whatever that you might use to communicate directly, like with Sarah? Or...
No, I just I leave it for Sarah to call the mansion here or
Okay.
something if she needs to talk to me.
I gotcha. So at some point then, I think Brian would come over to you and he would say, "Oh, forgive me, sir, I didn't mention it earlier, but you did receive a message just a few moments ago from Sarah. She says that she had an interesting conversation with someone that she thinks you should meet, and that she is requesting that you come downtown and meet at the place that you guys have met before." And so I'm going to leave it up to you to decide what clandestine place you and Sarah would meet from time to time. in the city.
Well,
But
Beta,
she,
did she give you the code word?
no, sir. She said that you know the code word,
Mm.
and you know that's a test. They're actually a code word.
Right.
And
Right.
so he's waiting for you to tell him the code word so that he can then
Bananas.
relay. Yeah. Very good, sir. Yes, she said that this plan is bananas, but that if you were to come along, that she believes that this might be worth your while.
Okay.
Um,
And the location we'd agreed upon with code word bananas just lets me know it is indeed Sarah communicating with the Bryans or myself
yep.
or Henri. That location is an old comic book shop. Uh, pretty busy comic book shop,
Mhm.
believe it or not, in the not quite uptown district, but right on the line of demarcation between Hell on Earth
Mhm.
and the Rich.
Yeah,
Right.
it would make sense that Metro City has an obsession with superheroes and whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
so, yeah, and so at this point, she has basically indicated that she wants you to come right away, if possible.
Yeah, and I will hit the intercom here in the mansion,
Yep.
and not knowing exactly what room Caliber's in, I will hit the overall that speaks to the entire mansion, and I will say, Caliber, I will be going out to meet Sarah, and it's bananas, but it is something I've got to do, and I will let my finger off the intercom as I put on a hoodie and jeans and a hat, ball cap. I won't wear sunglasses obviously at night, but again, trying to keep much of my face covered right now.
Okay. You'll see a text pop up that asked if you need surveillance.
Do I need surveillance?
Yeah, I'm talking about like a drone to follow you just to, you know what I mean, to kind of keep you in.
Affirmative.
Okay.
It's a good idea. He
So
probably
Um,
would
I'll
have sent
take
it
that off.
anyway.
Right. I mean, might as well. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how far out of town is this mansion, Dell? I mean, where is this out of? I mean, is it out of town? Is it in
Oh,
the?
yeah, it's definitely out of town and it's on a large swath of land this kind of monitored and gated. You know what I mean? It's more like a ranch on the outskirts of town.
Right.
I'd say a good 8 miles or so.
Okay. I'll make sure I've got my black wingsuit and my voice modulator on and working before I leave. And then I don't have a driver's license, so it means I have to, my form of transit would be a bicycle or a scooter, something that would be, I could get me there, but would not necessarily be a street legal vehicle. So probably a scooter of some kind, and I'll get on that and start heading toward
Oh, that's
town.
ridiculous. I bet Caliber has a whole fleet of
Yeah.
town cars
I-
that could
yeah, I
take
was
you
Yeah, but
gonna
I
say,
don't. I
anywhere.
don't drive, right?
I know.
Jasper's
No,
got
but
this
he's
hang
probably
up
got
about
drivers
driving.
too.
Right.
No, yeah,
Or
no,
robot
I
drivers.
do.
Yeah, but yeah.
I do, and I would have let you know that
Yeah.
you could access the a
Yeah,
certain
I don't
garage
need.
that would
I
have
don't need
basic
any
transport.
chauffeurs.
So with your motorized scooter, then it will take you a bit longer than it might otherwise. Although, if you want to go ahead and make either a mind or a luck roll, you might be able to figure out some more like pedestrian routes that you could feasibly access while
Okay.
not being entirely legal. Ross.
Yeah, this would be luck.
Bike trail.
This will be luck, as I've
Yeah.
never been in this area of the
Okay.
city for long periods of time.
Yeah.
I haven't been out of the house in a week and a half.
Yeah.
So this would be straight luck. And 3, no modifier for luck. So
Okay.
3.
Yeah, so you're just following the streets at this point, like
Yeah.
Metro Maps is telling you go this way, go that way,
Yeah.
and so you're just following it because you're not super familiar. I think maybe the suburb that Caliber lives in, it's Metroburg West, and so Metroburg West is like the nice, like the upscale. That's where like the tycoons and the movie stars and the
Right.
Upper crust.
the casino owners and all that. That's where they live.
Okay.
And so it's very safe, very ritzy. But there's a major demarcation between sort of where Metroburg West and Metro City would meet. There's it's not a highway, but it would be like a boulevard road, and it is literally gated off. Like there's giant like gates with, this is a private security area, and so they have been given your description well enough to know, like, if the man on the scooter shows up, he's allowed to come in and out. He's the guest of, and so they will see you and they will, just ask, hey, where are you going? Heading into Metro City, and are you expected to be returning this evening?
Well, I'm headed into city. I don't know when I'll be returning.
Okay, very well. Well, we cannot guarantee that you will be able to get immediately back in, as sometimes we have our shift change. But if you're willing to be patient, you will eventually be able to get back in the city tonight. If not, then don't worry. You can, of course. But you generally know that they have a loose curfew. They don't really want people going in and out past like 2 or 3 p.m. But that's never enforced. All sorts of nefarious stuff happens.
Yeah, and I will as I get out of the gated community, I'll try my new cell phone, and I will call Sarah.
Okay.
On this phone.
And
as I scoot along,
right. And what did
my phone?
What did you say her last name was again? It was
Weber.
Weber. Okay. And she says, "This is Sarah Weber, independent journalist."
And I say, "Yes, Sarah. I'm headed to our meeting place now, and I'll try to estimate roughly how long it'll take me to get there."
She's like, "What the hell? Garrett, is that you? Why is it coming up Bill Jones on my cell phone? I don't know any Bill Jones."
Because it's supposed to.
Oh,
and
I
next
get
time
it.
I call, it may say Simon James. Who knows?
Oh, I get it. Okay. Yes, well, hurry up and get here if you can. I have a guest, or not a guest. I have someone that you need to meet. You are not going to believe this, but I think this might really help with our problem.
He's not wearing a funny hat, is he?
And she laughs a little bit, and she says, "Oh, no. If I saw that guy, well, I would probably still call you, but it would be a very different call."
Does this person know my identity, Sarah?
I don't think so, but
you haven't disclosed my identity to them.
No, of course not. But
so under what illusion am I meeting this person?
Well, I told her that you were my friend and that you were a private eye, and that you were very good with technology, as she's after some information and is hoping you can help.
Ah, good. So I'll meet her as Garrett Jasper.
Oh, yes.
Private eye. Okay. And then I'll disconnect without saying goodbye or anything. It's just I'm gone, right?
Yep. And so it takes a little while. You end up hitting a bit of a traffic jam, because there was the usual, right, a gunfight or a murder happened, and so there's police all over the place, and you also got further delayed as you were unfortunate in that you ended up getting stuck behind the mayor's entourage,
right.
as they were returning to City Hall, and so that delayed everything. And so after about 4 text messages from Sarah saying, "Where the hell are you? Get here!" I'm already on my 3rd cup of coffee. This person's about to leave. Finally, you make it to the comic book store, and you realize that it's about maybe 5 minutes before it's supposed to close. And so as you kind of walk in, and it's got one of the old school bells that, indicates, and like the guy behind the counter, he just looks so annoyed because it's, you came in 5 minutes before closing.
Right.
But would this guy know you? Like, would you have frequented this comic book store or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
he would know me, and he would know that I was writing the blog.
Yeah.
As it's kind of my superhero version of comic book.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and so I think that his name is Stan, and he is about probably he's 19 years old. You haven't gotten a lot of detail out of him, but he is your classic like super nerd comic book kind of thing, and he says, "Oh, hey Garrett, it's you. Glad to see it's just you. I thought I was gonna have a problem here. Hey, but listen, I really need to to close up on time. I've got a date with my girlfriend from Canada, and after this, and I don't want to be late. So, can you, whatever you're gonna do here, can you do it quickly?"
Yeah, I'll look at him and I'll walk up to the counter. How you doing, Stan? Have you seen Sarah here?
And he just kind of motions
Yeah.
to the back.
All right, give us when do you got to close, Stan?
Well, officially we close in 5 minutes, but I do have to lock up and count everything. So
Yeah.
you got about 15 minutes. I'll make sure,
All right.
that I'll let you know when it's time to go.
So I'll move to the back though, as if I'm perusing comic books until I get close to Sarah, and then I'll identify whether she looks in duress before I actually approach her. Everything looks normal.
She does not look in duress, but she is doing what you've noticed she does when she's had an exceptional amount of caffeine.
Oh,
She's
shit.
essentially pacing and bouncing, like
Mm.
kind of like bouncing up and down on her feet. You could tell she's impatient. And as you kind of step around the kind of like this one
Stacks.
stack of comic books or whatever, you see her companion, and it is a fairly short, probably 5'2" maybe, female, dressed in all leather and has bright purple hair.
Okay.
And as you kind of approach, she sees you first. And she kind of is just looking at you with this gaze of like trying to size you up. Who Sarah finally recognizes, she's like, what is she looking at? Around, sees you, and she's like, "Oh, Garrett, thank God. This kid kept telling me he was about to close. I was getting worried. What took you so long?" Never mind, never mind. It's fine. I want you to meet my friend. And she says, um, Jessica, right? And the girl nods her head. Yeah. She says, yeah. This is my friend Garrett. He well, I told you about him, and you really need to tell him what it is you told me. I think he might be able to help. She's like going a mile a minute, like because Sarah's not that big either, and so
Right.
she might be only like an inch or two taller than this
Right.
girl. She's buzzing hard on this caffeine, and so
I'll pull
yeah.
out one of my business cards. It's a QRC. It's a card with
Yeah,
QRC code,
Mhm.
and I'll hand it to Jessica. Jessica, I am Garrett. What can I do for you?
Uh,
Start at the beginning.
she looks over to Sarah again, kind of like, "Are you sure?" And then Sarah's like, "Yeah." And so she says, "Okay, well, it's come to my attention that there is corruption in City Hall, and my sources have said that it up to the highest levels. I mean, we believe that the mayor herself is involved in some major corruption here, but I haven't been able to secure the proof yet. And fortunately, I need
Well, Jessica,
someone."
my experience is there's corruption and then there's actual crime. Do you know of a crime?
Oh gosh, I mean, I don't have the proof, of course, yet, but more crimes than you can imagine. I mean, she's, if the rumors are to be believed, she's involved in everything from, racketeering to campaign finance violations. I mean, it's no coincidence that, she has this great new yacht out in the harbor, but she should not, she doesn't have that kind of money, or at least not with her publicly disclosed tax documents. So something's going on. And then she kind of leans in a little bit closer and she says, and she may be, I think she has more knowledge about this Firebrand character. In fact, I think she has a lot more knowledge. I just need the proof.
Mm. So where's the shot exactly that you say the police commissioner has?
Oh, I mean, you would know
I
about
would
it.
know
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It was big news because
All right.
it's a bit controversial because she actually she does have a husband who's wealthy, but nobody has really seen him in a while. You know, the whole
Right.
idea is
Okay.
like, you know, he keeps out of the public eye. He's always on
Right.
vacation, whatever. And so,
Okay.
but
Um.
yeah, the Bryans have gotten into a debate lately. They actually don't think he's real, or that Brian Beta has said he might be a vampire, and Brian Alpha says more likely he is a robot. And they both
Okay.
love the idea of him being a robot. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So no real evidence that he's a real human being actually out there.
right. And
Okay. So
supposedly
Jessica,
he
you
has
want
yes. Go ahead.
you want me to identify crimes, or you want me to prove the
Well,
trail of corruption?
no, neither. All I need is someone with some technological expertise to perhaps access some databases that are not open to the public.
Okay. All I need is I just need the avenue of entry,
Yes, well,
preferably a secure computer device.
and she's like, well, that's the tricky part. And she looks over and she says, now, your girlfriend said you had the expertise to handle this. Is this something that you could do? Do you think?
I smile. She's not my girlfriend, but yes, I have the expertise.
Gotcha. Sarah, you notice Sarah not exactly flinch, but it's something other than her normal caffeine twitches, as you say, not my girlfriend. And the Jessica kind of like, you know, it cocks a eyebrow up intriguing at you and or intriguingly, and she's like, oh, my mistake. Anyway, well, good. So yes, we getting access won't be the hard part. The hard part will be getting access and not being immediately flagged, not being immediately caught, and then furthermore, not leaving a trace. See, I can't have the mayor's office know that this information has been accessed. In fact, and she kind of looks guilty for a minute. She's like, be very honest, I don't even know if there is any access, but I have a source that says that there are documents on a private server that will implicate the mayor and the mayor's office in all kinds of, you know, nefarious deeds, but I couldn't get much more than that.
I'll take a half step back, inviting Sarah to join us in an intimate circle here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, so exactly then, Jessica, who are you and why are you interested in this? I know Sarah's an investigative journalist. I can understand Sarah asking me to find this evidence, but who are you and what is your investment in getting to this truth?
Mm-hmm. And she says, well, I'm an advocate. I'm a justice advocate. I'm someone who is always looking for corruption within the city and hoping to expose wrongs. And in fact, you might have seen our protest last week, and that would have been all over the news, right? There was a bunch of
Right.
I don't know what the moniker for this generation would be, the post superennials or something.
Postmodernism.
But all the Gen Z who are now basically the boomers,
40.
they all
60.
they all hate the younger generation. They're all, they're all politically,
What goes around
whatever.
comes
Yeah.
around, baby. Hate all you want, 'cause you're gonna be hated too.
And so, but yeah, it would have been all over the news. She's like, yeah, I'm involved in that kind of stuff. I organize that all the time. You can make actually go ahead and make a mind roll for me.
Okay, 11 plus 3, 14.
Holy shit. You can tell that there's some truth in what she's saying, but she's definitely leaving out some crucial information.
She's holding something back.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I tell her, so either point me in the direction of the device, or the person who can get me that device.
She said,
and then I could take it from there.
says, well, it's not that easy. I'll need to come with you, and well, we can't access it outside of City Hall. We need to actually be physically connected to their network.
What? And then I'll take a step back. I'll look at Sarah.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we're talking B&E here, Jessica.
She said, well, not so much. I mean, getting into City Hall isn't a problem. Anybody can go into City Hall. It's a public building, but accessing the terminals,
That's B&E.
She
Okay.
says, I have a way of, I have that part covered, but again, I need to make sure that you can, once you've accessed the terminal, that you can do so without being noticed, get the information that we need, and get out without leaving a trail.
Mm. Yeah, you're just gonna have to trust me on that, Jessica.
And Sarah kind of pipes up and says, listen, he's very good at what he does, and he knows that stuff like this is important, so you can trust him. And that's a big thing for her to say, you realize, in the last week and a half, because obviously there's been some issues there.
Right.
But she would say, and then she would look to you, and she would say, Garrett, I know this is dangerous, and I can vouch for Jessica. I've known her for a while now. She's genuine in what she's trying to do. But I would understand if you didn't want to do it. I mean,
well, she's a client, and I will treat her as such. It's going to cost you what it costs you, maybe a little more with the B&E. But yeah, I mean, this is a business transaction, but it costs more for any illegal activities. Just so you know, and I'll look at Jessica. Just so you know, Jessica.
Yeah. And Jessica looks a bit annoyed, a little bit.
I mean, I'm literally treating her like I was introduced to PI. She's a client. Yep.
And she looks over to Sarah, and she says, "You said he'd be willing to help with this. You didn't say that he would charge me." And Sarah looks back to you, Garrett, annoyed, but like trying not to be, because she realizes like she shouldn't have said what she did, but she is trying to play it off like she was still in the right. And she says, well, I'm sure that Jessica will be able to adequately compensate you once it's completed, but I was hoping as a favor that you could help her with this also. And then now she starts to get excited. She's like, she's told me that if this is true, that I'll be the one to get the exclusive to break this story. You know what that'll do to my career? That'll open every single door on the planet. So I would take it as a personal favor if you could help her out with this, and then I'm sure we could figure out something.
If you can secure me that security footage of the firebrand in the subway and the footage of that motorcycle rider from the press conference today.
Make a luck check for me.
9, even.
Okay. So as you're looking at Sarah, asking her this, when you say the motorcycle from this evening, you kind of, in your peripheral vision, you catch this like flinch from Jessica, very subtly, and you're not even sure if that's quite what it was, but she definitely reacted to that in some way. And so Sarah's like, yeah, of course, that's not a problem. I mean, I have the footage, and Henri was letting me use one of his high-end computers to, compress and to edit the footage. So yeah, we're fine. That's easy.
Okay. Be careful with Henri now. We don't know him. But
you don't know him. I've spent the last week getting to know him. He's a very nice man. He's been all over the world. He's traveled to Paris. I haven't even been to Paris yet.
All right.
He talks like he's been there. Like, I don't know. He might be a little touched. So okay, I'll be careful with him. And she's bouncing again and starting to ramble. But still, he's been to Paris, and that's where I want to go.
Okay. And then I'll say you get the footage for me, and I'll do this for pay post work, and I'll look at Jessica and say, all right, when do you want to do this?
And she says, well, are you going to need any time to prepare? Or are you just ready to go in? Do you need any
I'm
special
ready.
tools? You're ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
She says, well, then give me a couple of, lost my dice here, sorry. Give me a couple of hours to see if my contact is available. It may have to be tomorrow, but I will get in touch with you soon as we're good. I
All
just
right,
need
get
to
in
make sure I
get
give
in
you the
touch
same.
with Sarah, and she'll get in touch with me
Okay.
because I may be with Sarah, and then I'll say to Sarah we should get some dinner. You're flying high on caffeine, Sarah.
And she normally would laugh at that and have a snarky remark, but you realize she's looking at her phone with this just absolute sense of like dread and horror. And she looks up at you with these wide eyes, and she said, "It's my mom. I think they found her." And confusing at first, and then she's like, the bowler hat, man. I think they figured out where she lived, and well, look, and
Yeah, and I stick
yeah.
my hand over her mouth.
Yeah.
Jessica will contact us later, and I'll take her in hand and escort her out of the comic book shop past Stan before she says anything else in front of Jessica.
You want to cut to me real quick?
Yeah.
And not to say this, but it might be perfect. As I'm sitting there looking at the computer screen, the ambient lighting kind of illuminating the scars on my face to further degree. I hear the ping in my ear bud that's connected with my monocle, and then I say on screen shared, and then it redirects Bluetooth over there to the other screen that they have been watching the television on. And I get up and stretch for a little bit. It's an impulsive lad, and I walk over there because the drone just let me know when he got to his destination. Now it's trying. The feed is a bit scrambled in different areas. That's a clever boy. Okay, I'm thinking I knew he would tamper with the phone. I knew he would do what he had to do, but I was wanting to judge his abilities in a certain way. But I was still hoping that somewhat what I had imbued into that phone would still reflect. The phone would have been a direct connect with the drone through to me. His biorhythms that the phone would have picked up, the camera,
Yeah.
the voice recognition software, which I had been using.
Yeah.
What I stood up from was that my monocle was like a reticle, and those individuals that we had went into that night, that's what I was doing. It took face recognition, and I was running it through face recognition software to see if I could see the identities of the bowler man and the other individual that was in there.
Yep.
As well as that's why so many mass vigilantes are out there. They don't prescribe to this whole face recognition, so I can't get a beat obviously on Firebrand.
Right.
But I needed that's what I was looking for was to find out the identity. And secondarily, when it pinged me, I stand up and I'm looking just at the downward view of the drone, the heat signatures from within. So I know Jasper's meeting with two girls, but how successful was he at blocking?
He blocked it out. Like, yeah, you had no access other
So that's
than
what I'm like, clever boy.
Yeah. You might have GPS access and that's it. Like, yeah. But
the rest of it,
yep.
it's shut off to me. So I've got what the drone could feed, and that's about it. Whenever I see them move out later, that's when I'll sigh a little bit and sit back down. I've stretched enough, and then I reconvene back at the computer to find out just who these individuals were. If I could do a deep dive while it's searching, you know what I mean, the archives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. So you get surprisingly little information easily. You may have to either access like MCPD databanks that aren't normally accessible to the public, or you may have to pay certain information brokers for some info. But basically, you get that the bowler hat man, you believe is named Tony Monaco. And he is basically a kind of a low-level thug. His brand is kidnapping and ransom, right? But he works for the Capelli crime family, and he is he's a bit of an up-and-comer, but he's certainly not happy with the setback of the previous week, and I would imagine that his lawyers aren't either. So you don't get anything on Meatbag. He's just not in the system. There's no information about him. He doesn't even have social media. What a freak. But anyway, so
Okay.
yeah, but so Tony Monaco,
I come up empty-handed with Meatbag, blah, 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 undiscoverable, and then the Tony Monaco. I feel good with I've made that connection, connected those dots. The Capelli crime family. Now, I am in a regular habit of monitoring the crime syndicates and in the thoroughfares of smuggling and whatnot. In effect, one of the museums, the collections in town, I like to transport back and forth. I want to make sure my transports are secure, but there's also a reason I'm doing my own transports to get my meeting. So I don't need them to do that. So I want to make sure that they're in place, as it were.
right.
But I'm trying to infer. Well, I'll do that in game as about their intent. But as I see Jasper and the girl move, I'll eye intently to see what direction they're at and kind of keep myself monitored on that as I break out my cane and start.
Sure.
I'll clean it.
Yeah.
With
Right.
oils and everything, as I'm watching what
Yeah.
direction to head off to.
Yep.
And that's where.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we'll cut back where Garrett and Sarah have just exited the comic book store, and you kind of have to push through a couple of people who are looking to get in. Like, no, they're closed. And Sarah's worried, and then just as you maybe take a few steps down the street, right? You're trying to kind of get her a little ways, it's some privacy so you can talk to her more. Jessica comes out at a bit of a run, and she says, wait up, I can help you. Let me help with this.
I stop and I'll whisper to, as we're turning around to face her, I'll whisper to Sarah, what did you tell her? Careful.
And Sarah doesn't seem to fully comprehend what you're saying, and she's like, no, Jessica's my friend. We go way back. She's pretty capable. She doesn't, doing these kind of protests and advocacy work is dangerous. She's even got a black belt, and
that's when I'll snuggle my nose to her ear and whisper, she cannot know who I am, Sarah.
Right. And Sarah kind of snaps out of it. She's like, don't worry. And but yeah, so Jessica's like, look, I don't know what all the cute little whispers are about, but if my friend is in trouble, I want to help her. Now, can you tell me what's going on, Sarah? And
then I'll step back and nod for Sarah to tell her what's going on.
Right. And so she does, and she looks at the message and she's like, well, who's the bowler hat? Like, why do you think this man would have taken your mom? And so she's like, well, there was a story and I was trying to track it down, and they had this weapon, and they said that they needed a tech guy to be able to activate it. So I said I knew someone. It was this whole thing. Anyway, things went bad and we got away, but so did they. And now I think, I think they might be after revenge or something. And
And that's when I'll look over to Jessica, 6 inches shorter than me, purple hair,
yeah.
leathers. I don't know exactly who she is, but I suspect, and I say to her, "So this is pretty serious stuff there, Jessica. You might wanna scoot on home where it's safe."
If she had the superpower ability to literally burn you to death with her eyes, she would. But fortunately, she does not. But she just is like, how dare you, right? And even Sarah is sort of kicked out of her melancholy for a moment, and she's like, oh, Garrett, that's so rude. Jessica can help, probably better than
Well, we
you
don't we
can.
don't want her life on our hands, do we, Sarah? We don't want to be responsible for this woman with so much future ahead of her.
Like Jessica says, you're not going to be responsible for me, but it sounds like this is Sarah's problem, not yours. So Sarah gets to make the decision as to who she wants to
Well,
help.
Sarah involved me last time. This got ugly. So in a way, it is my problem too.
And Sarah looks to you, and you can tell she's kind of wrestling with being angry, but also trying to like listen and act, comprehend what you're saying. And so finally she looks to Jessica and she's like, hold on a minute. And she kind of scoots a few steps away, brings you in, and she's like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but you got to realize that Jessica is not just some helpless girl. Like she can take care of herself. And frankly, and like, yeah, you started your workout regimen, but you're not quite there yet. As far as she knows, you don't have a gun, and she knows you don't want to use your powers if you don't have to. So it's like, to be very honest with you, it might be good to have her along. I mean, if we have to deal with those thugs again, well, I know she can deal with them, and that would make it so you probably don't even have to. Well,
No, I don't know, Sarah.
and who's your powers?
Yeah, well, that's the problem with having someone else along. And then I'll nod up into the sky, because we have Henri tagging along, and I'll nod. I'll look up into the dark sky, squinting through the lights of the city. As you know, Henri is following us right now.
Yes, I'm sure he is. I mean, it's no secret. I didn't keep a secret from where I was going. Plus, I'm borrowing his cell phone. He probably has it tapped or something.
Okay, so I'll nod to Sarah and I'll look over to Jessica. So, all right, you can help, but you do what I say when I say. Understood?
She looks like she's about to clap back for a minute, but then you see her eyes flick to Sarah and then back to you, and she's like, fine, yeah, that's fine. Now let's figure out what's going on. And I think that at that point, if Henri wants, if you wanted to do something at this point, you possibly could, but you would definitely have at least you have access to the text messages that came in on Sarah's phone, because again, she borrowed your phone.
I can pick up from that. So I just a clever boy.
Mhm.
He was able to do what he had to do. So
Yeah.
I'm gauging him. Like I
Right.
said, I was cleaning out my oil in the gun.
Right.
As I'm listening to them via her phone,
Mm-hmm.
since I switch channels, I go over there and open up the little box. I open it up in this velvet with various types uh, of socketed balls,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are marked in certain ways or whatever. And I select two, and I've been standing there as I'm listening, almost like meditation balls. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop and say, "Hal," and I hear, "Yes, sir," coming over my thing. Uh, have the car ready. I believe I need to go out for a night ride, and I'll start walking to the door, and I'll press one of the balls into my eye socket
Mm-hmm.
and drop the other one in my pocket. And then that's when I flip the gun over and clack it together, and it comes down as a cane.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit the floor, and I'll walk out
Yeah.
and stop and put on my duster and walk out the door. And that's when I get in the car and I'll start driving off in that area. And still, I got my monocle and I'm monitoring where they're going, but I'm hidden in that duration.
Okay. And are you driving directly, or do you have a driver?
Oh, yeah, I have a driver.
Okay.
He's
yeah.
going there
Yeah.
in case
So-
I need to hop out.
Yeah. So as your your Batmobile would have like literally come up, from like the driveway outside would have flipped over, and there would have or whatever, and yeah, and then it's like and and it's got like 2 bullets on the side of the car or something like. Oh, no, that's ridiculous. But anyway, okay, so you're heading down kind of in the same direction that they were, or with the intention to maybe follow them, because it won't be any problem to follow Sarah. She's got GPS.
I'm going to cut them off in the pass
okay.
where they're heading. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah.
And I'm gonna head more directly instead of indirectly like he did.
Well,
right?
so you being that that the name of Bowler Hat Man is Tony Monaco, you could probably figure out where he is right now, but they don't know. All the text basically said, it seemed like it was from Sarah's mom, and she said, somebody is trying to break in. I need your help. Like, what's going on? Help me.
Well,
and then finally another text message came in and said, we have your mother, wait for further contact.
Okay, I'm sending a text to Garrett at the moment. I'll just say, GJ, watch, Bowler Hat with his identity. Basically, you'll see a identity, with a mugshot and a bio, and then at the bottom, attached to the Capella crime family.
Okay.
I'll
see that. And then I'll remark back, investigation positive, I see, question, and then kind of with a question mark, and then I'll text back, so I assume you're monitoring Sarah's phone, question mark.
I'll just put a little smiley face, okay, and then send it back.
Or a winky face, yeah.
And I'll say, I might give our location then, although I know he knows where we're at, but out of courtesy, I'll say, 8th and 29th or something, wherever we are, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I just 10-4 that.
Sure.
Okay.
And so, Sarah would have Ubered down here. You took your scooter, and Jessica looks at your scooter, and she looks at you, and she laughs, and she says, "You came down here in that?"
And I'll look back at her and say, "Confident men don't need much more than that."
And she says, "Yeah, sure, but what does that thing go 15 miles an hour?" And like you see, she's got like a Ducati, like big ass racing motorcycle, basically.
Right.
I'm smiling at this time because I'm taking any flashes of her or her voice, and I'm running it through voice identification software.
Yeah.
Try to isolate her real.
Right.
And on the TV, her face.
Yeah.
Too, so.
Yep. And she says, well,
she had the helmet on though.
Yeah.
Really
right. Yeah. No, the voice and the voice identification would recognize her. It's the same voice as the woman, but there's a little bit, something is weird with the identity. Like it's almost too clean. Like it seems like it goes back only a few years, and it's perfectly tailored to the story that she gave, that she's an activist, but you can't find anything about her childhood, about anything. It's like she just appeared out of nowhere 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, other than just relying solely on technology, I'm drawing from my own personal
Yeah.
database of languages as well as,
Mm.
you know,
Mhm.
customs or whatever like that. So is there anything about her accent that might be,
Nope.
or are you just saying clean?
East Coast American, like,
Okay.
she's probably 24, something like that. Pretty
Okay.
young. Yeah,
I can't get a beat
she
on it. My eyebrow goes
yeah,
up a little bit
sh-
as he's driving me. I think
she's
his name was
definitely
Maurice.
has some kind of like Asian heritage, but not like really really obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's something you've done enough of these things that you know that there's something wrong with this identification, but you're not quite sure why yet. But as you're kind of going through all of that and trying to figure all that out, we cut back and she says, "Well, listen, I mean, if you want to take the scooter to her mom's house, that's fine. But I'll tell you, if I try to stick to 20 miles an hour on this bike, it's gonna just knock me right off. So I'll probably have to meet you there."
And
Un-
that's where I'll step into the street as I point to Caliber's upcoming ride and look back at her and say, "We have a ride right here."
and
As he pulls up
yeah,
in this pseudo limo, right?
yeah, it's like
And then
car
I'll
or
open the
whatever.
door for Sarah and Jessica, and I'll look at Jessica and say,
Got a pool in the back. Yeah.
Maybe they have
"Hop
the
in."
doors that open up like the opposite way. They open up backwards, right?
Right.
And what do they call
Yeah.
those, suicide doors or whatever?
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah, and so it's pretty fancy. And she says, "All right, where are we going?" And Sarah says, "Well, we got to go to my mom's house. You remember where it is, Jenny, right? Sorry, Jesse, right?" And he's like, "Oh yeah. Does she still live there?" Like, yeah. Okay, all right, well, I'll meet you there, I guess. And so then she like flips the visor back down on her helmet, right? Gets on the bike, and you'll see she pulls the throttle, and the wheelie, basically front wheel comes up and the back tire's spinning, and then she goes and she takes off, but just like somebody who has a very powerful motorcycle.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Not like the newscast.
no,
motorcycles.
no.
Okay.
And the thing about it is, like, nobody seemed to have remarked on it. Like, you're not even sure if did I see what I thought I saw? Like,
Right.
it's just, it's sort of weird, but like, this lady's giving off a vibe. And so yeah, so as like the doors open and she kind of peels out, right? The driver would kind of lower the partition window or whatever from the front, and he would look back and he said, "Your destination, sir." And he's talking to you, Henri, but
Oh yeah.
Sarah would
Yeah.
probably
He does
yeah,
that, but I cock an eyebrow and turn over and stare at both of them.
right. And for a minute, Sarah's like
I still don't know. I don't want to give an
Yeah.
indication I'm stupid, whatever like that. And then destination, please.
yeah, like, oh right, 34th and Maple. She'll be like, just
You
pull
hear
into the middle of the
young
block.
lady. You hear the young lady, and then the door will shut
Very good service.
automatically without any kind of
yeah.
hand pull.
Yep.
And then we're off.
Yeah. And
Okay. And that's when I'll Sarah, what do you know of Jessica? How far do you go back? Where do you know Jessica?
well, I mean, I've known her since we were kids. Yeah, I mean, we grew up on the same block. She's been here since forever, and it was like I think her family took her to Boston for a little while, or it might have been New York. I can't remember, but it was only for a few years when we were in late elementary school. But by middle school, she came back, and we were going to the same school. So
Okay. Well, let's hope she doesn't end up a victim here if we end up entangled.
oh, I sure hope not.
And then I'll look over to to Henri. So Tony Monaco, this is our bowler man. And I'd say to Sarah, do you know a Tony Monaco?
Yeah, and she gets this look on her face like, "Oh no, Tony Monaco, as in the guy who works for the Capelli crime family."
And I look at Henri. I think that's what Henri has discovered.
What are they saying?
And she says, "Oh, I thought that might be the case, but I was really hoping that it didn't go that far." And she says,
Spit it out, girl. What leads you to that concern?
she says, "Well, I mean, I'm a journalist, so I dig into information, and I had heard about Dominic Capelli. I mean, sorry, Tony Monaco, and how he works for Dominic Capelli, the head of the Capelli crime family,
Yeah.
as kind of a kidnap and ransom specialist. But I didn't put it together that it was the same guy who was calling about, this tech. If the Capellis are trying to get this technology, well, that's a problem. That's a huge problem."
Well,
So it would
it's a
seem.
problem if anybody gets this technology. No one is going to get this technology. I don't care who they are.
You don't know the Capellis. They're connected at the highest levels. I mean, I don't know. And she says, "Garrett,
Trust me,
I'm
girl.
worried."
I know them.
You know the Capellis? How do you know them?
I have my resources, but I would suggest that they do not know us either. So with that, I'm adjusting and having some draws going over that, and I have been converging on that area where the Capellis transport and conduct their warehouse trade and everything else, right? To kind of monitor if there's any activity. And I'm looking for, I know I probably can't get no face recognitions of her mother or any woman, but I'm looking for any kind of a weird hostage like situation where somebody's restrained or whatnot with heat signatures at night.
So you will have to either make a luck check or potentially a mind check, because you're not gonna get any information just passively about the Capellis and what's going on. If you want to try to bypass encryption remotely and stuff, you could do that, but yeah, that's not gonna be all.
Yeah, in ways I'll be notified whenever the police have some kind of things that I am specifically looking for, that it would ping and bring up.
Right.
You know what I mean? That trigger words or whatever like that.
Yeah.
So if there's any kind of live active database going on with what we've been talking about, it'll pull my attention to that when I can examine it. So, okay, listen, I did luck, but I rolled a 1.
Okay.
Critical failure. Okay.
Yep. All right. All right. I'm gonna hold that in my pocket for right now.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think so. What ends up happening is Sarah is starting to not exactly panic, but she's definitely more worried than she was before, because if Tony Monaco has her mom and Monaco's connected to the Capellis, she is like, this is not good. But then you see that look on her face when she has like if you guys would be watching like detective shows or like something where like they figure it out and she's like, I know who it is, right? And so she's like, wait a minute. But Tony Monaco's just a low level player, like, yeah, he's a K&R guy for the Capellis, but like he's no big deal. I mean, they have dozens of them. So if he screwed up and didn't procure the weapons tech that was needed, he's not going to want to let them know. So maybe we're okay here. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe,
or the Capelli family doesn't know what he's up to.
Well, I guess that's a possibility, but I don't know that he is much of an independent player.
He may have his sights set on being the Monaco crime family.
Oh, that's a scary thought. That guy's dumb as a brick.
Well, he's
Well,
not so dumb to have found me and to capture your mother. So we
well,
cannot take him lightly right now. And I will
Yeah.
on the intercom tell the driver, drop me at 32nd and Maple, 1 street
mhm,
before.
yeah,
And you'll see me take off my hoodie and my black suit.
mhm,
And I'll tell Andre I'll be getting out of street before in disguise, and I will follow
okay,
so I can make out. Like a no-knock warrant. Cops always stop the street before the target, 2 streets before the target.
mhm,
Yeah.
I'm gonna approach the address on foot from another
Mhm.
location.
The door whooshes open and lets you out, and I say, and don't worry about the girl. We'll take care of her. I'll
Mhm.
be on your 6.
and
Yep.
yeah,
And-
and
and once I
Sarah's
step
actively
out-
trying to get out of the car with you. She wants to come.
Yeah, and I just kind of palm the top of her head and kind of
Yeah.
push her back in. Stay
Right.
with Andre, Sarah. It's safer.
No way, Garrett. I can't. If this is my mom, we're
Boom.
talking
Door
about.
shuts in her face.
Ah!
Yeah,
and you
and
can hear her
yeah.
cursing and and
And
screaming.
I will look around to see if there's anybody on the streets, anybody looking, and assess whether I can change into my 6'5" shadow
Yeah.
light distortion form.
Make
Switch on my
make a luck check for me.
okay.
Thank you.
9, no modifier, straight 9.
Sure. So you notice that there's a couple of tweakers that are kind of in one of the alleyways. One of them is either asleep or dead. You're not sure. And the other one seems so just like out of it that you don't know if they would even notice if you
Okay.
punch them in the face. So you feel like you probably are okay. These
Okay.
neighborhoods, though, are known to some of the people here will have security cameras, whether it's because they are running a drug house and need to know when the cops are coming, or it's private home security, right? They want to know.
Right.
So there could be a possibility, but there's nobody
Mhm.
immediately that's going to.
Yeah. So I'll step into the closest dark shadow of the alley.
Hmm.
That and that's where I'll make the transition into
Yeah.
create basically a dark form.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will step into the street, headed toward her mother's house, looking for the girl Jessica coming on the motorcycle, or looking for the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Okay, back in the thing, I pulled Sarah next to me
Mm-hmm.
as she was trying to get out. Be still, girl. You can monitor him from here. I know you're upset, and I'll have my arm around her and kind of stroke her. I've got this little topical liquid or oil on my hand
Mm-hmm.
that will seep in and kind of cause her to relax
Okay.
and possibly sleep until she kind of drifts off, and that's when I'll tell the driver to pull over to the side, record the situation of approach,
Mm-hmm.
and look currently at the body, where the bodies are, and try to isolate where Jasper is and work counter to him, because I'm a pivot off of him. And then I will take a low step out of the car as it pulls up, and then the driver knows what to do. In stock, he stays a distance away. He can monitor me and my vitals
Mm-hmm.
and show up when he needs to. But other than that,
Yep.
I step out. My cane hits the road, and I start stepping in that direction too, around the other side, opposite Jasper, and approach.
Okay. All right. So you guys kind of I love random seeds. Okay. So all right, so you pull out onto the street and your reticle starts to it starts like and you start getting sensors, whether it's from your drones or whatever, that there is signs of movement. It seems like there's a car that is coming down the block from the other direction, and you get the intent that whoever's in this car seems to have hostile intent. The data sensors
Gotcha.
don't quite know, but they have picked up like elevated body heat. They have picked up potentially the
One person in the car, elevated body heat, reckless maneuvering.
No, multiple people in the cars, but or in the car,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, there's
Elevated heart rate,
yeah,
blood pressure.
potentially the the mixture of like saltpeter and sulfur and whatever, so they could be armed. I don't know if modern firearms still use any like that, but whatever.
I'll
Composition of gunpowder.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll take a stance and brace myself.
Yep.
And that's when I'll flip up the
Sure.
cane, and you hear it clack, and then I'll pull it up and take a long draw as my reticle
Mhm.
zooms in, and I'm trying to shoot toward the driver right through the window.
And and so now I'm going to pull out that critical failure that I
That's
pulled
fine.
from my
I
pocket.
expect that.
As you attempted to do that, all of a sudden your view is obscured by this dark shadow as Garrett has sort of entered onto the block now. And you can tell that like he's looking.
It just suffocates the light.
Yeah, he's looking
It
towards.
passes in front of me where I'm starting to aim, and the reticle goes like
Yeah.
that. And I take that breath
Yeah.
like to steady myself right before the pull, and that's when the shadow goes over and almost suffocates my vision and my breath.
Yeah.
And I feel a pang of anxiety as I know that cars are all rushing right now to me.
Right.
And that's when I have to do an evasive maneuver and just launch myself off the side of the road behind some kind of obstacle for protection, whether it be, behind a light pole
Yeah.
or one of the buildings.
Okay.
So
And-
light pole's fine.
And so you kind of like, take evasive maneuvers. Garrett, you're literally standing in the street or on the sidewalk or whatever. It's a great big shadow form. And you now see this car coming down the street. Headlights are off. It's not exactly right. I mean, this is like kind of an older car, probably a big V8 engine. So it's not exactly stealthy. But they don't want to be, obvious that they're coming.
So they're moving slowly then.
Yes, they're moving somewhat slowly
Oh.
right now. Yep, they're kind of 10 miles an hour maybe. I mean, this is a residential street, so if people were to follow the posted speed limit, it would be 25. But
right,
they're going about 10 miles an hour.
And no headlights on, right?
No headlights on. You can see.
So I know they can't. They don't see me at all. I would know that.
Right. Well, yeah, right. And you can see in the only thing you can see, all like tinted glass windows, you can see just like the littlest indication of like the like circular like orange circle from inside. You get the it looks like probably somebody's lit up a cigarette or smoking a cigarette in the driver's seat. But it's definitely coming down the street. And so the way you're positioned is like you're over here. Sarah's mom's house is like a few, you've gotten onto her block at this point. So it's like a few houses up. It's like a bunch of brownstones. And they are further past it, but they're coming towards your direction. So they will be going past her
they're
house.
between me and her mother's house.
So in fact, her mother's house is between you and them, meaning that they're on one side of it, you're on the other side of it, and
and I wouldn't think anything of it other than troublemakers, gangsters, troublemakers.
Right.
And I would just, again, being in my shadow form, just cross deftly across the street into his yard or into the up against the buildings and move toward her house. Again, they could just be passing thugs.
Well, and as you
far as I'm concerned,
as you get closer, you recognize the large, like, what do we call him, meat sack? That huge like thug from the previous encounter standing at the bottom of the steps that would go up to Sarah's mom's brownstone. And he's also, it seems like there's another guy on the other side, looks just as brutish and stupid. But so it's clearly like two bodyguards or something
out front. Not in the car, front of the building.
Standing out front of the building. And as the car is getting closer, you can like almost, you can't quite tell, but there's like a little bit of a sound, and then you can see the glint of something out of the window of one of the cars. You realize now that the back window in this car is rolled down, and there's some glint from basically the street light reflecting off something probably metallic in the car.
Yeah, I step into behind some garbage cans, get low as I know this is looks like a hit.
Yep.
Looks like a drive-by, and I'm just getting as low, and so I don't take any so I don't take any pieces of this drive-by.
Okay. And so when the car is probably 2 or 3 houses away, the driver guns the engine, right? And the windows open, and you can see these guys leaning out with like Uzis or whatever, right? Like they're definitely aiming to gun down the two, the two big, Capelli thugs or whatever, and they almost painfully slowly recognize what's happening, right? And Meat Sack, who knew before, he, believe it or not, he's actually smarter than the other one. He actually ducks down behind the sort of like the stone kind of railing and stairs, pulling out his pistol. The other one is just standing there, and he squares off, and he pulls this gigantic like Desert Eagle pistol out, and he's about to fire at the car, right? Okay. And you see these guys pull out their Uzis, and they're aiming at him, and then all of a sudden there's this like loud crashing sound, and you literally see like this blur of movement, and then the car, like the front of the car, literally like comes to a stop. The back end of it kind of goes up, and the front end crumples in, almost as if it hit something, right? And then it kind of boom, pops back, and you no airbags, because this is an older car, and either they've been disabled or they just work or whatever. But the guys are all and you see this leather-clad figure standing. Well, actually, she's almost. It's sort of that that kind of heroic thing, right, where she's like kind of has one hand down on the ground, like she had jumped in front of. It was clear she jumped in front of this car, right, and then she kind of stands up, and she's like brushing this like fiberglass and windshield off of her leather. And she looks at the car, and she kind of, and like it's part of it is like still like right up against her, and she pushes the car literally just, but not slowly. Like you can tell it's almost as if she's like she's moving really fast, but not far. So she's going, and the car starts moving backwards. And then there's gunfire coming in from the car at this point, right out the windshield, like trying to shoot her, and you can see just like, right, she's like dodging it, and then she comes back, and she's just kind of standing there in the street facing off against them, and you notice, Garrett, that excuse me, that Meat Hook at this point sees this girl, and he's got his gun now trained on her, and she doesn't see him.
I'll step away from my hiding, and I'm still a mass of black shadow. But when the car hits, one of the hubcaps springs off and is rolling down the street. I step out, snatch that hubcap, and then I'm gonna whip it like a frisbee at Meathead. Awesome,
cool. Make a body roll for me, please.
Oh, critical fail. 1. Shit. Shit.
We're on a roll.
Shit.
Okay.
We're new to this superhero gig, man.
Yeah. So
at least Garrett is.
Right. So I think what happens at this point is you go right, and like the
like a
hubcap,
frisbee,
yeah.
it takes its own path.
Well, what you realized is like hubcaps are a whole lot heavier
Yeah,
than you might have
right.
thought. And so like you go to throw this thing and it doesn't go anywhere close to where you want it to go, but it
Right.
lands in the street, making about as loud a sound as possibly, you know,
Right,
could make,
right.
right? And like almost in embarrassing fashion, it's like everybody turns and at once and
What the
looks
hell's
at this
that?
sound, right? Yeah, and so you know the girl she turns fast, like,
Right.
right, and
Right.
like faster than is should be possible. And like you know, Meathead is like turning, you know, with his gun now pointing to you. And you're still in full shadow form?
Oh God,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
I should look like just a 6'5"
Yeah.
black,
Right.
almost ghostly, as all light is distorted and
Yeah.
right. They couldn't. Yeah, it's almost like again like a void. in a
Sure.
way.
And
Yeah.
so I
And
think
with my demonic voice modulator, right, I'll say, "Put down your weapons."
and Meat Hook like has this look of panic on his face. Like he remembers you, and he's like, it's you, it's you, and he's like his shaking, but he's not putting down his gun. The other Meat Hook does put his gun down, and you can hear the thugs in the car. I mean, this would probably be like, you know, like a two-tone like Crown Victoria, you know, kind of, or like a Caprice or
peeling off
something.
the
Yeah, paint
top.
peeling off. Like, but
Yeah.
it's like has tricked out rims. It was the only nice thing on the car, you know. And they're you can hear it trying to, but like it can't turn over because the engine's basically
Yeah.
smashed.
Right.
And so finally they get out, and you know they start you know cursing like, oh, gonna gun you down, motherfucker, like right. And so gunfire starts erupting everywhere, and you can
Right.
see like as almost as if, I mean, it's just unbelievable to watch, but like this blur just like right all between those thugs, and like their guns go flying out of their hands, they go flying up into the air, a couple of them land, and you could tell there's gonna be brain damage or whatever, like they crack their heads. Like she just basically, you know, whoever this is beats up all these 5 thugs that got out of this car. Meanwhile, the one Meat Hook is looking, or
Meat Sack.
Meat Sack, thank you, is looking at the other one being like, what do we do, what's going on? And you know, Meat Sack number 1 is, you know, his hand's a little steadier at this point, but he's got his gun trained at you at this point, and he's like, I don't want any trouble, just leave me alone.
Yeah, I'll expand the black mass, blotting out what street light or lamp on a window, or maybe a stoop. There might be a light as I'm walking past it that's killed by it, and I'll say, "You can't kill which does not suffer the material devices of this world. You will succumb." As I just grow and blot out street lights.
Yep.
And lamps.
Okay. And all of a sudden, you see, again, this blur, right? And you see the gun in his hand go flying, like his hand goes like this, and the gun goes flying up into the air. And it, you know, it's like the trajectory, right? Like it's coming down. And then you see that leather-clad girl, you know, still got the full motorcycle helmet on, right, with the visor and everything. And she kind of like spins around and catches the gun in midair. And then she like pistol whips Meat Sack with it, and he goes down. The other one, you know, like puts this ginormous hand cannon down, and he's like, I don't want any trouble. I'm not getting paid enough for this job. Don't worry about it. And at this point, you know, the gangsters who were going to do a drive-by, like, they are either unconscious or have run away.
Right.
Out of commission.
Yeah. And so I think at this point is when, you're in full shadow form. She is standing there kind of, you know, just waiting. And would Caliber have entered the scene, or was he still observing at this point?
Oh, I mean, Caliber is he switched his monocle to in some attempt to look through the darkness that had overtaken him to infrared, and he's cycling through various uh, views,
Yeah.
you know, with the color spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And right now he's coming up empty.
Mm.
This barrage of noise is happening around him. He heard the crash, and obviously it was near enough to him by that time that he I I curl up and fall back as I'm expecting to be hit, and I hear this crash. So I'm looking at myself right now and doing a VSE, making sure I'm all there, and I hear that demonic voice, and I know it's Jasper. So I'm going to make it toward Jasper when the voice is calling out. That's what I've been trying to do,
Sure.
to get over there, to get a hand on him to base. Uh, you know,
Yeah, you
if
would be
I
able to
find
see
him,
heat, and you would be able to see heat through my light distortion, just not light references.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a heat like heat signature, you could see heat. right?
okay, well that would let me, that would let me.
Of course, you would see you would actually see my 5'8" body too.
Right.
Yeah,
Plain as day
I
through heat. It's like,
when
oh,
I
there's
cycle,
Jasper 5'8", right?
yeah, once I
Yeah.
cycle
Standing there
through
with
all
my
the,
arms stretched out like I'm some big.
once I
Yeah.
cycle through all the things, I stop on the heat reticle and back up to
Right.
hit that,
Yeah.
and then I look at Jasper and I analyze the situation. So it takes me a minute to
Mm-hmm.
get my composure in that method.
Right.
And I still got my hand on my gun. I reach around for that, and I pull up, and I'll change my reticle to that too, to where it's giving off a heat signature
Sure.
to line up.
Yep.
Uh, I see this very blurrish heat signature that's rapidly
Zipping around.
moving.
In fact,
Yeah,
let
yeah,
me stop you for just a minute.
Yeah,
You would expect to see a normal heat signature. Something about this is different. It's all like, if a human body was moving that fast, there should be an intense amount of heat. And you actually do see a lot of heat like on the ground around where this figure is moving. But the actual body itself, it's almost as if your sensors can't make out quite
Is it like
what's
a
going on.
cool?
It's like, no,
Oh.
it's not cool. It's like there's some heat and then it goes away. There's some heat, it goes, like you're not quite sure what's going on, but there's definitely something different about that figure that doesn't
So
necessarily
even when
make
it's
sense.
not moving and blurred, it stops and it's still blinking in and out, basically.
Exactly. Yep.
of-
Yep.
So it's like a stuttering
Yeah,
effect.
yeah. It's like there is some heat, and some of it seems to be escaping, but not what you would expect from a normal human, and certainly not what you would expect with someone moving as fast as that person.
I
is.
see,
Yeah.
I see that, but I know
Yeah.
what's going on there when it's moving around
Right.
and disarming these individuals, and I see these bodies flying, and I've seen it go over there. Well, this
Mhm.
right here is something that I don't personally want to contend with, and I'm not necessarily sure that it is against us right now. I haven't made that
Right.
decision. I don't want to be as rash as Jasper, so I'm going over there to warn him of that realization. So
Yeah.
when I walk over to Jasper and the heat
Well,
signature,
keep in mind though that when you come in, that girl is right there, because Jasper had gotten somewhat close to the first meat sack, and then she came in, knocked Sack's gun up, grabbed it, pistol whipped him, and now she's basically standing in front of Jasper, not holding the gun
all
at him,
she
but
sees
yeah,
is
is the
massive
shadow. Yeah, and
black
she's
hole.
kind of like,
well, that's all we think
Yeah.
she sees. But
Right.
that's when I come in behind Jasper. 'Cause
yeah, okay,
if it's that close to him,
Mhm.
this individual,
yeah,
I'm not clanking my gun on
Right.
the floor now. If in fact I've almost like slid it underneath, and I'll put my hand
yeah,
on Jasper's shoulder
yeah.
and whisper in to his ear, Jasper.
Yeah,
we don't know what we're dealing with
Jasper
here.
focused on this chaos and watching this person intently. I would startle
Mhm.
and you would hear this demonic, oh, kind of echo out
Yeah.
as I'm startled by that, and turn a little bit. And if
With
you're
the
if
voice
you're like
modulator?
beside me, or or
Yeah.
I pass behind you, you would actually appear like out of nowhere.
Right.
Right? She'd
Yeah.
be looking at this black Amida, and there he is. If you pass past me, right?
Yeah,
Because
well,
I'm
I
blocking
tried
out
to
light
approach you from
behind. Yeah.
behind because you're getting real close to something that I consider dangerous. So all I
Right.
did was put my hand,
Sure. Sure.
Jasper, and you'll see
Right.
me clamp down like that. We don't
Right.
know what we're dealing with here. Let's
Right.
back off. And
Yeah.
then
And
I'll do that. You feel my hand kind of slightly tug your shoulder, like looking for kind of.
right.
So you literally
Yeah. And
say
I'll
Jasper?
backpedal a couple, slowly, step by step,
Yeah.
Well, I don't
keeping
say it
this.
out loud. I said
Yeah.
in his ear.
Oh, okay, okay.
You know what I mean? Like I just
Yeah,
go over
right.
to his ear and his
Oh,
shoulder.
okay. Yeah.
Jasper, we don't know what we're dealing with here. Let's leave. You know.
So you, as you do that, as you kind of enter his sort of field, his shadowy
Yeah.
field area, the figure that is standing there seems to be aware of you, and she turns and is, holding the gun at you, Caliber, and says, "Who is this? What are you doing here?"
Okay, at that wreck, I'll snap my head up and look at her, and the monocle zooms in and out,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll take a step to the side and raise up my cane in
Yeah.
hand and like this with both hands out.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, my dear, we've come here, if I can recognize the female's voice, for the
Yes, you can.
same reason you have. And then I'll let that hang in the air a moment.
And so she's like, "I don't know who you are, but you need to get out of here before you get hurt."
Are you not here for the girl's mother?
So at this point, with about
I'm sensing that I'm dealing with a young lady here.
yes, and at this point, with just unhuman speed, she comes right up next to you with the pistol, like right at your temple.
On my temple.
Yeah, and says, "Who are you? What do you know?" Except
Okay,
that she has to, like, kind of hold.
that's
Yeah.
fine. I need to tell you that when she does this, I'll take a deep sobering breath, and my exhalation stutters a little bit.
Yep.
I'll close my eyes and say, "Girl, we're not here. We're not here against you. We're here with you."
Now, she's
Put
got a
down your
helmet
weapon,
on,
you-
right?
Yep.
She's got a helmet on.
Got her helmet on.
Yeah, but see, I don't know who I'm dealing with.
No,
exactly
but
here,
but
'cause
but
didn't
I
see her.
would. I might.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
recognize this is Jessica, her suit, her hair, her helmet.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, shuddering breath, just say, "Girl, we're not here against you. We're here with you. Take the gun away, please." And then I'll just stand there, still supplied, still holding up my cane. And you don't want to do this.
And
That's persuaded her.
she'll, well, yeah. Go ahead and make a roll. I'm gonna say, I would say prestige.
Okay,
Yeah.
6.
Okay. So she steps back out of your immediate, like, she's not holding the gun to your temple anymore,
Yeah.
but it's still aimed at you. But she's now backed out of Jasper's, like,
In her circle.
circle, and
Yeah, it would have been like standing in a
yeah,
dark closet when she stepped in there.
yeah, and so she would step back out, and she would look, and she would say, "All right, boys, let's just cut the act." And she would put the gun down, and because she can't really see if the Shadow Boy has a form or not, she'll hold her hand out to you, to Caliber, and she'll say, "My name's Knight Rider."
The girl on TV.
Do you?
And
ta-
with
do
that,
you
I
attempt-
will.
do it.
I
attempt
will
to take her hand?
distinguish
Oh,
my
yeah.
shadow.
Okay.
I mean, the minute he says the girl on TV, I'll
Yeah.
distinguish my shadow. And allow the light from the lamps on and whatever in the street here.
And you don't have any other disguise, right? Like
No, I
it'll be
wear like a
fully
black
apparent
jumpsuit with
yeah.
a wing. It's like a black
Right.
wing
Yeah.
suit.
But she would immediately
Sometimes I'll wear
recognize your
like
face
a-
if she'd
yeah.
seen you, right? Yeah.
Right.
If
Oh
this
no, I
is-
would not have
okay.
anything
Right.
on my head at all.
Okay.
Right. Now sometimes I would.
Yeah.
If I was,
Yeah.
But
And so
this was a meeting with Sarah, so I didn't really.
right.
Yeah.
When you
Okay, I'll take my
Yeah.
cane down and put it down on the ground, put my hand on
Sure.
top of it as we stand there, and say, "Let us take care of the task at hand.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that the girl's mother is secure." And I gesture over toward the blubbering meat lump on the ground over there.
Yeah.
The one that threw his,
Mm-hmm.
and these secure as well. And the police should be here momentarily because I could do a call into the police. You know what I mean? So, and that's what I'll be. Whenever I say that, my driver knows to start ringing.
Yeah.
The police has got a bit of code.
Yeah. She's like, no police. I'll take care of this.
But we have to do it fast.
and
I'll
You
with
understand?
that
Yeah.
I'll be like
she gives
2
you
steps away from the front door.
Yeah.
I will go into my black shadow, blotting out the
Yep.
light of the front door, right
Mhm.
at the front door, killing all light around
Yeah.
the front door.
And so because you do that, she says, fast, I can do fast. And then Garrett's shadow goes right, and it obscures your view. And all you hear is, and then Garrett, you would feel something just like, almost like muscle past you. As you realize, like, she ran behind you through the door up past you and almost like knocks you over or knocks you sideways for a minute. And like the force is quite surprising how forceful it was. And you realize like she's like up the stairs.
Right.
And I think you would hear like this the sound of like wood breaking and perhaps like metal ripping out or whatever. And you might hear some shouting, and then I imagine by the time you sort of recover yourself, Jasper, kind of right yourself again. I think that perhaps for just a minute the shadow would have dissipated again, as you got knocked sideways, and then it comes back up. And what I'm going to say is that will obscure the view, and that's where we fade to black as we conclude this session.
Okay.
And we will do some post-game narration to resolve at least some of this. But with that, we conclude session 2 of Dark Age of Heroes, and we have introduced a new super person into the multiverse here. So
yeah, Jessica.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
great.
Thank you
Outstanding.
all for that. I'm going to end the streaming now, but I will continue to record while we have some after game banter, and I will put that up on the channel. But anybody who did watch this, thank you, and stay tuned for more episodes as we can.
Yeah.
And hopefully I will have this up in a little bit edited, cut off the part and whatever.
Sure.
Hopefully this weekend, but we'll see. So with that, take care, everyone. Adios.
Thank you.
Peace